Hey guys, welcome to another video. Dr. Mike Hansen here. This morning came the news that President Biden came down with COVID. He has mild symptoms. There's no fever, but there is a runny nose, rhinorrhea, and there's also a dry cough and fatigue. Now, Biden is 79 years old. He's otherwise healthy and he's fully vaccinated. He's had 2 booster shots, which are indicated, at least at this time, for people who are 50 and older and those who are immunocompromised. His second booster shot, his last booster shot, was on March 30th. He's also taking the COVID pill that's made by Pfizer, Paxlovid, which has the FDA's emergency use authorization and is indicated for those who have mild to moderate COVID illness who are at high risk of having severe illness. So he tested positive today, which is Thursday. His last negative COVID test was 2 days ago, Tuesday. We also know that the COVID that he has is most likely BA.5 or BA.4, although there is a possibility that it could be one of the other subvariants of Omicron, such as BA.2.75, which is the newest one to emerge. Of course, a lot of people want to know what can be expected of his COVID illness. Now, if he qualifies for Paxlovid based on the technicality that he's deemed to be high risk, because you need to be considered high risk in order to qualify for Paxlovid, well then, is he going to have severe disease based on his high risk? This is where things get a little weird with high risk and severe disease, because we know that with these COVID vaccines, they offer protection from severe COVID illness. Since he is fully vaccinated, that means his risk of having severe COVID illness is pretty low, right? Because it offers protection. These vaccines offer protection from having severe COVID illness. So why is he getting Paxlovid if he's unlikely to have severe COVID illness? Well, because anyone who's over the age of 65 is automatically considered to have high risk of severe illness. So even though he's fully vaccinated, he's still in that category based on his age, that he's in that category of being high risk. I know it doesn't make sense because either you're high risk or you're not. So being fully vaccinated, the risk of dying from COVID is very low. But the criteria to qualify for Paxlovid don't account for the vaccination status. So there's this loophole. He's highly unlikely to die of COVID, yet he's still considered to be high risk of having severe disease. He most likely has BA.5 or BA.4 subvariant of Omicron based on the high circulating numbers of those subvariants. There's 2 main things to consider with BA.5 and BA.4. One is that we know that they escape or at least partially evade immunity from both vaccines and from previous infections. Even people who've had the original Omicron, BA.1, they still got reinfected with BA.4 and BA.5. And the timing of the last booster shot that people receive absolutely matters, because we know that the immunity starts to wane at around that 3-month mark, continues to wane down as time goes by, especially when you hit 5-6 months. Most of that immunity has waned off, but still offers protection from having severe COVID illness. So that still means that you're unlikely to die of severe COVID if you've been vaccinated, especially if you've been boosted, especially if it's been recent. But there's no doubt about it, these subvariants of Omicron, BA.4 and BA.5, they absolutely cause infection and reinfection, and it's not a fun illness, even if it's only mild illness. I know this because I experienced COVID with most likely BA.4 or BA.5 less than 2 months ago. Now, in my case, I'm very healthy, fully vaccinated, but my last booster shot, my only booster shot, was about 8 months prior to me getting COVID. So when I got that COVID infection less than 2 months ago, my immunity had definitely waned down. Even though I only had mild COVID infection, I was sick for about 2 weeks. I had about 4 to 5 days of runny nose, congestion, fever, fatigue. I had this productive cough. I was coughing up lots of phlegm. And the main symptoms lasted about 4 to 5 days, but the fatigue and the coughing up crap lasted about 2 weeks. Based on him being fully vaccinated and based on what we know with the new subvariants, BA.4, BA.5, BA.2.75, the expectation is that he'll have nothing more than mild symptoms and most likely not to have symptoms longer than a week or 2. He's already getting Paxlovid. The sooner that it's given, the better. Will Paxlovid work against the Omicron subvariants, BA.4 and BA.5? Well, it's anybody's guess, because the clinical trials that showed that Paxlovid works against COVID, those clinical trials were done before Omicron. But with that said, there's very little risk in giving Paxlovid because the chances of having side effects are very, very small. There's always the potential for allergic reactions, which is the case with just about any drug. There have been some reports of altered or impaired sense of taste, diarrhea, muscle aches, nausea, or just generally feeling unwell. Now, there are some reports of the rebound of COVID symptoms in some people who've completed the 5-day course of Paxlovid. And in those cases, those symptoms recurred about 4 or 5 days after completing the course of that Paxlovid treatment. The hypothesis is that the immune system didn't have a chance to see the full extent of that viral infection because that viral replication was being suppressed in that first 5 days of illness. But to learn more about BA.4, BA.5, and BA.2.75, check out these videos here.